Now, I love autumn. I love it. If you put aside the wind and the rain and the dark mornings, I do actually love autumn. But creeping on into winter, that means we're creeping on into fireworks season. And that's one thing I do not like. Yes, there's pretty colours and it's lovely events and it's a nice time of year for people to get together. But when it comes to our dogs that are sensitive to fireworks, it is one of the worst times of year. I'm Laura from Dog Training Revolution, and I have been a dog behaviourist for around 7 years now, probably more than that. And I have my lovely business partner Rachel, who's currently tripping across the Sahara Desert. She'll be back any time now, but hi Rachel, I know you're going to be watching this. So, at Dog Training Revolution, we specialise in dogs with behavioural conditions, and this can go anywhere from dog reactivity and aggression all the way up to things like separation anxiety, generalised anxiety disorders, and older dogs with older conditions. Dogs change throughout their lives. It's not just the experiences that they have, their general behaviour can change, which means it's very common for dogs to go through their life without having any issues in regards to fireworks and loud bangs, but then as they get older, these things can change and it becomes more and more distressing for them as they do get older. If you're one of these owners, please do keep watching. If you're one of the puppy owners that are watching and your puppy seems a little bit stressed already by bangs and loud noises, this video is going to be good prevention help for you as we do creep on into fireworks season. First and foremost, let's have a look at why dogs might be particularly distressed around fireworks and loud bangs. It could be that in your area no fireworks have gone off yet, but your dog is already starting to show those signs of not really wanting to be going out for a walk or getting a little bit distressed in the house, and you've picked that up. This is more likely for dogs that have actually gone through a couple of seasons, so they're already expecting these fireworks to come. Now, this can be called anticipatory stress. It's basically anxiety. So they start to associate the dark nights, the cold winds and the temperature changes with this anticipation of fireworks going off. So for this whole time, their stress is going to be building and building. Their anxiety is going to be building up, causing this general distress and these changes of behaviour in them before the fireworks have even come about. And then as soon as the fireworks start to go off, it's sort of like a confirmation of their fear, of their anxiety. So then they start to go backwards in their behaviour. Things start to get worse again. Now, if your dog is one of the really unlucky ones where they're distressed for this whole season and you are praying for these fireworks to stop, you're praying for the lighter nights to come in, please do keep watching, because in the video we're going to have some tips for you to help your dog to be able to cope, but then also there is veterinary intervention if it is needed, and there's nothing wrong with that to help your dog to get through the season. Now, if you're a puppy owner, you might not have noticed any sort of sound sensitivities yet, but that does not mean that your puppy will be okay with fireworks and loud bangs as they get older. It's more common for these sound sensitivities to start to occur and start to show their ugly face around the 2-year mark. And why that is because there's been a repeated behaviour. So again, that anticipatory stress is building. Your dog is connecting the dots around this time of year. So if they've had to go through a couple of fireworks seasons, as soon as they hit that 2-year mark and the nights start getting darker and it starts getting colder, that anticipatory stress might then start to creep in. Then they might be showing some of the behaviours like, again, not wanting to go out for a walk, hiding in the house, pacing, sort of getting off the food a little bit around that age. And that's because there's been the repeated behaviours over a couple of years. So they're anticipating these really scary events to happen. Now, the pinner is actually my favourite part of the dog's ear because it's the lovely, soft, flappy part. And even if you've got a dog that's ear sticks up, it's the soft part, either at the top if your dog has pointy ears, or the little bit that folds over. I'll put a little image here for you so you can see exactly what I mean. But the pinner basically acts as like a sound dish. is it called a sound dish? Anyway, so then that is collecting the sounds, which is why they can move it in all different directions and the dog's ears can move independently. That's because they're collecting information and picking up sounds from all different parts, all different areas all the way around them. So that part of the pinner is able to detect sounds at a much higher level than the human ear because we've only got little ones. It does the same job, but ours are a lot smaller. So that already is amplifying the sound and bringing those sounds to the dog at a much higher level. Moving on in to the ear canal. Now the ear canal in a dog is L-shaped. As in a human, it's much more straight. And the purpose of this is to increase the resonance of frequencies within the ear. So even the high-pitched frequencies and the low-pitched frequencies, so that is like the screaming fireworks and the rumbling booms, all of that is getting amplified for a dog. Now, dogs can hear from a range to 40 to 65,000 hertz, as opposed to us that can only hear around 20,000. So if you think those fireworks that are booming that make us jump, they particularly make me jump, how much more amplified they are going to be for a dog at a range of 65,000 hertz. So even the ones that we can hear streets away, for a dog, that might be like a cannon going off in your front room. So it's no wonder they get a little bit worried about it. Then moving on into the eardrum. Now the eardrum is a lot more sensitive than a human's. Again, going back to the 65,000 and the 20,000 hertz, their eardrum was designed to be able to pick up the smallest sounds and amplify that through their head as a survival technique. They can also be able to hear their puppies crying, danger coming, water flowing, all these sorts of things that will increase the dog's ability to survive. Everything is amplified within their head. So keeping in mind that these things are amplified and much more intense for the dog, that doesn't just mean that they can hear them and feel them a lot more loudly. That also means that it can cause pain within the dog's head. So as dogs get older, they are more susceptible to aches and pains, just like we are. So those sounds causing discomfort within the dog's head, and that anticipation that this pain and this scary sound is coming, you can see why the anxiety then starts to creep up. So it's important to notice just how much these things are affecting your dog and whether veterinary interference is actually going to be the right way going forward. Because if it is causing any sort of pain for your dog, we need to get in there and we need to help them. And sadly, no amount of training is going to stop pain. This is where noticing the differences in your dog's behaviour is super important this time of year, which is why we like to get training as soon as and early as we can as a preventative. But then if you're still noticing the same level of distress in your dog, it's going to be likely that a vet trip is needed, possibly for some pain medication or anti-anxiety. You've got to remember that ear conditions in dogs are not always visible, so it doesn't always appear as the bright red or the itchiness or the smelliness, because it goes a lot deeper into the dog's head. So some of the ear conditions you can't actually see. For dogs that are naturally predisposed to be better at hearing than other dogs, and also there are dogs that are predisposed to have more common ear conditions, especially chronic ear conditions, these sorts of things are going to be need to be looked at from a veterinary perspective. Because again, there's only so far that training can go. On the one hand, we've got behaviours related to anxiety. On the other, we've got behaviours related to pain. And then in the middle, we have the mixture. And this is where it can be very difficult to work out for you what exactly is going on. And very often there is a crossover. So don't rule out a vet visit just yet. Let's have a look at the behaviours of anxiety that you might be looking at. So, your dog may be going off their food. They might be messing in the house. Reluctance to go out for a walk. And to be honest, a lot of dogs reluctance to go into the garden. They might be taking themselves off in the house instead of wanting to come and sit on the settee or the bed with you as they used to. They might start hiding. The behaviour might be changing as more standoffish and sometimes even aggression towards you or people approaching them. Behaviours in anxiety can also be pacing and restlessness. They might actually not be sleeping as much. Your dog might have gone off the food or stopped drinking. When you're out on a walk, your dog might actually be becoming more reactive, or if your dog wasn't reactive before, they might be reactive now because they are thinking that they are in danger. They're stressed, their cortisol levels are super high, which means any stress is going to be spilling out into other areas of their life. Now let's have a look at pain-related behaviours. The list is practically identical, which means it's very difficult for you as a dog owner and us as behaviourists to work out whether or not there is pain going on within your dog or whether it is simply anxiety. You can speak to your vet about trialling pain medication around this time of year if an ear condition is not automatically visible. So if you've not got the redness or the swelling or the goop or a history of the more noticeable ear conditions, there still might be pain going on, particularly if you do have an older dog. Anything including stiffness in the shoulders and neck can cause these same pain-related behaviours around this time of year, because if you've got a headache and somebody starts, if somebody started putting a collar around your neck and trying to take you out for a walk, you'd be a little bit grumpy if they tried to do that. I want to talk just very quickly about puppy prevention. So if you're watching this video and you do have a young puppy that is experiencing some sound phobias already, there are little things that you can do to help to desensitise your puppy to noises going forward and help to get them ready for this time of year. Pairing loud noises with fun experiences and also training around loud noises such as the hoover, such as dropping pots and things like that can help to build up your dog's resilience towards loud noises and bangs. Now this is particularly effective in puppies because they're able to recover a lot quicker, only if it's done right. We're not saying start chasing your dog around the house with a hoover, not at all, because it's not entertaining and you're only going to be causing problem behaviours later on. But what we're saying is have the hoover running in one room, feed your puppy in another. If you've already started doing basic training with your puppy, you can ask them for sit, food luring, down, spin, any basic behaviours that they are good at whilst banging on the floor or on a pot with a wooden spoon. Banging on the door, having the hoover running, any sorts of loud noises and pairing them with fun and successful experiences. So even though that cortisol in the blood might be spiking up, the serotonin of getting things right and the dopamine of working to achieve things is going to help to balance things out, increasing their resilience and their confidence around loud noises, decreasing their stress when these things do start to appear. This is also something that you can do with your older dogs. It's never too late to get training. We are always training our dogs around the novel. So this means going out near to traffic, waiting for the loud rumbling vehicles, and then training our dogs in things that they're successful with. This is whether or not your dog is scared of these things. Taking them outside and getting them used to it and getting them successful around these big scary things, again, can help to increase their serotonin and reduce the cortisol levels. So make them feel good, reducing stress. It's very important to do all of these things gradually as opposed to flooding your dog. So we're not saying jump straight out there next to the M6 and get working with your dog. Not at all. These things need to be done in a controlled environment, they need to be done gradually, and you need to work out what your dog finds rewarding and what things that they're successful at to get the best out of them. It's not always food. It might be toys, it might be play, it might be interacting with you. Every dog is different. For older dogs, they're a little bit more long in the tooth that do have this anticipatory stress around this time of year. We do need to do things differently, and we do need to do these things more slowly, with more prep. And we do recommend getting on with training early on in the year so that you're able to progress slowly as opposed to rushing around this time of year, and then all these things sort of snowball, and then the next minute you know that fireworks are already going off. But that doesn't mean that it is too late now to start. Let's look at the things that we can do to get your dog ready for fireworks season now. Number one, and you've probably heard this, you've probably read these things all over the internet, but classical music. Classical music has been shown in studies to reduce dogs' stress levels, and even in kennels it was shown to reduce barking and things like kennel running up and down. So if you want to play classical music for your dog on the television or on the radio throughout the day, it can actually start to gradually reduce their stress levels on a whole. We don't want to just be playing this music when fireworks are happening, because again, we don't want to build that association between classical music and a stressful event. So we recommend having classical music being played throughout the day so that stress levels are already reduced. Number two, creating safe spaces for your dog. Now this is something that is very often like a second thought. You'll just pull the settee a little bit away from the wall, or that they can go under the bed. But this tends to be something that we only do for them around fireworks season. Or you'll go ahead and you'll just create something new last minute in the hopes that they'll know that it's there. What we recommend is creating a safe space for your dog very early on, so that they know it's there a month in advance and they like going in there. It's very much like crate training. So if you find a nice little nook for your dog, or even if you want to make one, under a bed, under a chair if it's a small dog, I like to pull out the settee and then create a den with some nice blankets so the sound is then cushioned by your settee. You can do this early on, teaching your dog to go and lie down and to settle on their safe space. Nobody goes to the safe space. That's rule number one. Nobody goes and interferes with your dog while they're down there. They can take all of their tasty treats or their toys and nest in there if they want to, at any time that they want to, but they won't be disturbed. That's the very important rule for them. So, create a safe space for your dog nice and early on. Get them used to going and lying in their safe space, so they know it's there when the fireworks do go off. They're not panicking and scrambling, trying to find somewhere in the house that makes them feel safe. Number three is walks. Now, walking your dog is very, very important, and what time you walk your dog is even more important, especially at this time of year. We always recommend taking your dog out early instead of having to take them out when it starts to go dark, when people are more likely to set fireworks off. Now, this might sound like a no-brainer. You know, we're going to take my dog out early and I'm not going to take him out when it's dark and fireworks going off. How you walk your dog in this time is going to directly impact how they feel later on in the evening. We're not saying just take them for a walk around the street. We're not saying go and take them to a field and throw a ball out all afternoon. We want your dog to be using their brain. We want them mentally fatigued on their time away from the house so that they are more rested when they come home. If you spend your time on basic training, scent work, engagement games, games specifically for your breed of dog, they're going to feel much more fulfilled and mentally rested when you do come home. The serotonin levels are going to be a lot higher. The dopamine levels are going to be much higher, which means they're going to be more equipped to cope when stressful events do occur. So when you do take your dog out, make sure you're doing breed-specific games and training so they're going to be feeling more fulfilled, more rested when they do come home, not just worn out. Number 4. This has really got nothing to do with your dogs, but go out and check your fences. If you are these people that do still let your dog out in the garden, now we completely get it. Some dogs are a little bit worried by fireworks, but they're not too bad. So you'll go and stand outside in the garden with them while they have a wee. Check your fences, check your garden gates, check your perimeter of your house, because it just takes that one firework, that one negative experience for your dog to panic. They will go into fight or flight mode and they can try their best to escape from your garden. And it only takes one broken fence panel, one gate that's been accidentally left open or the latch has blown off for your dog to dart. Now, if your dog goes missing around this time of year with these fireworks going off, they are going to be in a state of survival, which means it's going to be much more difficult to get them back and much more likely that any sort of recall you've got is going to fail. So please, 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 please go and check the perimeter of your house, your garden, your fences, your gates, your hedges, anything like that. If you do take your dog out for a wee in your garden during fireworks season, make sure you go and stay outside with them and your property is safe. If you're unsure, pop them on the lead as an extra level of management. Number 5, training in the house. So as I mentioned before, when you go out on your walks, if you're doing things that are breed specific and that your dog particularly enjoys and they're successful at, their serotonin levels are going to be much higher, which means their cortisol levels are going to start dropping. So think of happiness and joy and success and stress. If you're doing training with your dog in the house that they are enjoying and that they are good at, they're going to be able to cope with the background noises and the background stresses much more easily because they're going to be successful. So if you're doing things like sit or spin or retrieves or scent work in the house that your dog is really good at and they love doing on the day-to-day, so think that you get to practice out on your walk, then they can come home and do it too, they're going to be able to cope with the fireworks much more easily. Now, don't get us wrong, there are dogs that won't eat during fireworks, but we'll get to this after. But if your dog is just worried but still able to eat and they still will sort of instigate play with you, we want to hone that and we want to use that to your advantage. One game that I like to play when fireworks are going off, as soon as there is a bang, it rains treats for my dogs and I cue him to find it. So we will both frantically go around sniffing at the floor. I don't sniff at the floor, I encourage him to sniff at the floor. We'll both go around and scavenge for these treats and I will cover them up with cushions just to make the urgency that little bit higher for him. So the sniffing gets more and more intense. The more that he's sniffing, the lowering of that stress is coming down. So he hears a bang, it rains treats, then all of a sudden it is game on. He's got to go and sniff out for this food. Not only is he getting rewarded by food that he really, really enjoys, but the sniffing itself is reducing those cortisol levels again. This is also going to help him feel more rested when he does eventually go to bed. You can do this with your dog too. If your dog particularly loves toys, you can hide the toy behind your back. When you hear a bang from the firework, the toy comes alive like a squirrel dropping down from a tree. Let them chase it, let them grab it, let them bite it, have a game of tug. Keep a few toys hidden on you. It's absolutely fine. We're getting them through the fireworks. They hear another bang, another toy drops, and then we start to play on the floor. Building up that association with bang and good things. We are counter-conditioning our dogs to feel better about the things that they don't like. Number 6, playing firework sounds to dogs. There are some amazing videos out there on YouTube and even on the radio. You can buy CDs that help your dogs get used to the sound of fireworks without any fireworks going off. Now, you won't get the same frequencies, and I am certainly not telling you to go out and buy some subwoofers and start trying to replicate the sounds of fireworks going off in your house, but it can absolutely help to desensitize your dog to the sounds of fireworks going off nice and early without the intense changes of frequencies that fireworks do actually bring. Now, how you start using these sounds, these videos or these recordings is start with them extremely low. You find your baseline, so you put them on as low as you can go and gradually turn the sound up. So low that your dog doesn't even notice anything is going on. Slowly, slowly, start to creep up that volume. As soon as any sign of recognition from your dog happens, that can be an ear twitch, that can be a look, that can be stopping from what they're doing, stop. Leave the sound up where it is. We want them to get used to the sound at this level and help their stress levels to then come creeping back down. Now, what I mentioned earlier, the same as the hoover and the banging on the door or the pots with a wooden spoon, you can leave that sound playing while you feed them, while you clean up, while you have a fun game, while you go and sit down and have a nice little cuddle with them on the settee. What we want to happen here is for them to get to the point beyond recognition. So they've stopped noticing it, they've stopped caring, and it becomes just white noise to them. And then over the course of a few days, I want you to carry on with that sound at that level. So then when you do press play and it's at that same level, there is no reaction from your dog. There's no stress, there's no worries. Then you're going to gradually start to increase the sound again and repeat this same step, so that fireworks, regardless of the intensity, causes no distress in your dog. The very important things to remember about these are: keep a diary of the sound level that you're at, along with your dog's behaviour, so you're not rushing ahead. Because if you start to trigger stress in your dog from playing these sounds, we've gone backwards. So keep a diary of what the sounds were, how loud it was, and how your dog was able to cope. And then also another one of how long it took them to calm back down. That way you can track your progress. That way you can keep an eye on things that you know that you're going in the right way. Also, if you do start working with us, it's very, very good for us to see, so we can tweak and adjust to make sure progress is keeping going. If your dog is in a state of such distress that they cannot cope, that they won't eat, that they are messing in the house because they can't go outside, that stress is going to be elevated to unimaginable levels. Just imagine that your dog is so scared of going outside that they physically can't go outside. Then they're also having the stress of trying to hold on, needing to go for a wee or going to the toilet. So bad that they then have the anxiety that they're going to mess in the house, which they know that they're not supposed to do, and then they have an accident. Not only is the time of year distressful for them, but the anxiety of the things that happen to them and to their body is sending their stress level sky high. So please, if your dog does have an accident in the house, do not scold them, do not react, because they're trying to get through this season and this time of year. Clean it up. It's as if nothing ever happened. We can get back onto toilet training after the season is finished. By following the steps that I mentioned before, taking them out earlier on in the day, if they will go out, it's going to help them again to reduce these stress levels when they do come home. We're not saying that it's going to rule out the chances that they're going to have an accident in the house. Your dog might also go off their food, and it doesn't matter what treats, what we put in front of them, they might go on a hunger strike. Your dog might be clawing up at the carpets, the door frames. They might be eating things that they definitely shouldn't and never normally would. They might be harming themselves by chewing, suckling, flank suckling, chewing at the claws or their paws, excessive scratching and panting, drooling. All these things are showing us that your dog is in a state of distress. And all of these symptoms, which they are, need to be seen by a vet. Now, it's very easy to throw a blanket over this and just get anxiety medication. We don't take it lightly. Medicating dogs we do not take lightly. And there are plug-ins and diffusers. There are herbal tablets that you can use. But if your dog is at that level already, then medical intervention is needed. We can train. And we will train on top of medication. We always recommend training on top of medication as a form of management and counter conditioning. But there's no shame in taking your dogs to the vets and saying, look, we need help around this time of year. What can we do? For the worst nights of the year, like bonfire night and New Year's Eve, it's good practice to have medication in and ready. So then if your dog does start to creep up to these levels of distress, you're prepared and you have it there, as opposed to then having to wait for the next day when your vet's is open. What can also help is early preventative treatment. So things like herbal medications before this season even starts to reduce your dog's baseline stress levels. So helping them to start from a lower level of stress before then it starts to creep up, as opposed to hitting the middle already and then it's very easy for them to tip over the edge. When your dog is in a less stressed state, it is easier for them to learn. It is easier for them to cope. So if we can start at a lower baseline, build on top of that with training and management tools that I've just explained to you here, you've got more chances of success when the season does fully kick in. I also mentioned pain medication and pain related problems with your dog around this time of year, and it is down to you and your vet to discuss whether there might be a factor of pain with your dog around fireworks. It is likely that pain will be a factor if you have an older dog, as older dogs' hearing and nerve endings can be more damaged and deteriorated. So even though their hearing might be worse than it was when they were younger, pain could be a factor around fireworks. So it is worth discussing a pain medication trial to help them to get through this season. With all that being said, as behaviourists at Dog Training Revolution, we are here for you. So we can help to design a specific training and counter conditioning program for you and your dog to help to get you through this upcoming season. And we do work closely with vets and insurance companies. So if your dog is already insured, again, you're paying each month. And if you're covered for behavioural help, you might be able to work with us for free. So if it is that you would like to start working with us very early on, so we can design the training specifically for you and your dog and your home environment, because let's face it, every dog's an individual, we're more than happy to come out and help you to get you and your dog ready for this season. The main takeaway points that I want you to take away from this video is start early. Even if last year your dog was absolutely fine, get them ready for this year, because anything can happen, anything can change. And what we want as behaviourists are more resilient, robust and confident dogs, dogs that are able to cope with these things that the modern world brings to them. Because let's face it, they are in our environment, so we've got to change our environment to help them. So if you would like to send us any videos of your practice or any questions you've got or any problems that you've been having with your dog in the past, just please do send them away to our website, www.dogtrainingrevolution.org. We can book a free call if you prefer to chat with us. You can even send us any videos of any training that you're doing that you'd like us to have a look at. We'd love, love, love to hear from you. I'm Laura from Dog Training Revolution. This was your fireworks video. I really do hope it has helped, and we welcome any questions. Hope to see you soon.